Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Light Sports Ramble. As always, my pleasure to come to you this evening. And it's Thursday, so I got my co-host Evan Witalison with me. And I'll tell you what, Evan, I've been having withdrawals. No phone. Haven't been able to do the ramble. The last one was with you on Saturday. I've been itching to talk to you for a week, especially after the way the Packers played on Sunday. And so I know you don't have a lot of time tonight. And I had a long day also, but let's get right into it. The Packers went out on Sunday, went to Minneapolis, where they normally struggle, and they just put on what I called an ass-kicking on Sunday night. So take me through the recap, bud.
Yeah, well, that's actually, my opinion that going up to the Dome and struggling, I think that's kind of getting to a little, granted this is the last time they've ever played in the Dome, but I think it's getting a little overblown a little bit, because since Aaron Rodgers has been with the Packers, Rodgers has been outstanding in that Dome. And I think, even with the Packers have lost, Rodgers has still played outstanding. Like when Favre was with Green Bay, Favre would go into the Dome and he would forget how to play football. But, at some place that Rodgers has always played extremely well. But to the game on Sunday, Packers just took care of business. Eddie Lacy carried a heavy load, which is something we'll talk about a little bit later. He's continuing to control the ball and helping the Packers dominate time possession. Rodgers was as sharp as I've seen him all year on Sunday night. He put a couple passes to Jordy that I couldn't believe he threw, but he put them spot on. Both touchdowns to Nelson were just perfectly placed footballs that I haven't seen him place a football that well all year. And then the defense, up until the end of the game, the defense played outstanding. They contained Adrian Peterson. He still had some broken tackles, and kept the chains moving a little bit. But when it pushed him to shove, he wasn't able to do much the entire game. And Christian Ponder is Christian Ponder. He struggled to hit his receivers. He overthrew guys, underthrew guys, missed open guys. And then it was always great seeing Greg Jennings get the one catch for 9 yards. And a couple of concerns that we talked about last Saturday came to light once again, and that's the kickoff return coverage, which once again the team the Packers are playing got over 200 yards on kickoff returns, which one of them was a long touchdown return of 109 yards, but 5 returns for over 200 yards is not good. And then the penalties killed them once again. Especially 2 of them that kept drives alive that led to Viking points. Granted, one of the penalties was very questionable. That's the pass interference call on Tremont Williams. You see the replays show that it probably shouldn't have been called, but, live action of the game when the referee was on the receiver is between the referee and the defensive backs, I could see where the referee thought that Tremont made contact with him more than he did. So overall, it's a good win. Still a couple of things they still need to clean up, especially finishing a game. But, I was very impressed with what the Packers did on Sunday night.
Right on. And the penalties, we talked about it last week. We talked about making those mental errors, and it showed. And you're absolutely right. It led to points. And now again, we're playing the Vikings. We overcame it, and so it really at that point, didn't cause too much damage at that point. However, as we go deeper, and we can agree or disagree about the penalty, like you said, during full game speed, it looks like it's pass interference. The referees don't have that advantage to see it slowed down. So
look at what the referee was too. He was between, Greg Jennings was between the referee and Tremont Williams. The referee did not have a good angle of the play, and it looked the way Jennings moved live action. It did look like Tremont grabbed him.
It didn't. It didn't at all. And again, we might be nitpicking about that, but we talked about the veterans being able to step up and not make those mental mistakes. And we saw again, and you had touched on it on Saturday, the veterans are the ones that it seemed to be making the mistakes. Our rookies played very well again on Sunday night. They're stepping up. And the nice thing, we came out of the game with no injuries.
That was a good thing.
Finally not a game where we have to put somebody that's going to be out for extended period of time, which was really nice to see. But that, kickoff coverage, you and I hit that right on the head. We both saw it. We've both been seeing it. And I'll tell you, when they first returned that kickoff, I said, here we go again. We cannot let a crappy team play with us and get those, I call them sloppy points. I mean, there's no way that somebody should return a kickoff 109 yards on us. I mean, tied the NFL record. So they do have to tighten that up. But I think you made a valid point, is that we've had to rearrange that special teams unit because of injury. People that were on it that are now starting and playing a bigger role in the game plan, we can't be tiring them out on the special teams. So maybe it'll get better as we get our injuries taken care of, or these people get more consistent playing. But it is now becoming a trend. It wasn't a flash in the pan like, oh, it's one game and it happened. So hopefully they can tighten that up. But I want to get into, we talk about injuries, and this is definitely something that you and I talked about, and we actually were tweeting it back and forth, DMing it. Are we overusing Lacy? I know he had, over 25 carries, and he was pounding the ball, but was it necessary on Sunday night, Bud?
I think the carries that the Packers overall had in the ground was necessary. And I know, when you have a hot running back, it's hard to take him out. But I think, Lacy needs between 20 or 25 carries a game, I believe, to be effective. If they start pushing it more than that, like he had 29 carries on Sunday, I think they're approaching dangerous territory. Station that I do some interning with, WSSP in Milwaukee, the Bake Show was talking, and that's one of the topics they were talking about today. That's the show on Sports Radio 1250 from 2 to 6 o'clock. And Gary Ellison, is a former running back, was saying that the way they're running him, they're going to burn him out. But I think for him to be effective, and Gary Ellison nailed this, said this too, and I think he nailed it right on the head. He needs between 20 to 25 touches to be effective, but I think they need to use. If James Stark's healthy now, they need to use James Starks a little bit more.
I agree. And the thing is, it wasn't like James Starks was going out there and laying an egg. He was running hard. He had a couple really good runs on Sunday, and I couldn't believe that as we grew the lead, that we were still giving the ball to Lacy. I can't argue the fact that 29 carries, that's great for the team. I mean, that is great that we can run the ball and run it effectively and really pound the defense and tire them out. But as a rookie running back, I also worry about if we overuse him, will he pull a hammy? Will he get hurt? And I can't disagree. 20 to 25 carries, it's almost like, Major League Baseball puts a pitch count on their pitchers. We almost should put a carry limit on Lacy. Now, if the game was closer, I can see, okay, we're going to pound it. I guess my concern is we had a lead. Why not rest him? Because he is still a rookie. Even though he's in some good shape, he might try to overdo it, and that's when he pulls the hammy, and now he's down for 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, to touch on your point a little bit about, why not take him out when we have the lead, like what we did, and use Starks more, and, the same thing with keeping Rodgers in the game, but that goes on to what we were talking about before we started, and we were messaging back and forth on Twitter about this too. I think that's when it comes into the garbage points. The garbage point, the garbage time points. When the game's pretty much out of hand, the defense, for whatever reason, tends to lose focus, and the other team starts getting a ton of yards, and they start putting points on the board. And I think one of the concerns then becomes, if we start putting our backups in, like we put a Seneca Wallace in, and we put, Starks and Franklin in, and, the younger guys, that the other team could get back into the game. And by the time, the defense gets its focus back, it could be too late. A team like the Browns and the Vikings, they're the Browns and the Vikings. They're not going to mount this epic comeback. But every time I see the teams in garbage time moving the ball up at will and scoring points, makes me look back to, the old Houston Buffalo Bill game back when the Bills came storming back after the Oilers got a huge lead. That's what starts coming in my head. Like, I don't want to see that happen. That might be part of McCarthy's concern, that if he takes the foot off the pedal a little bit on the offensive side, the defense might give it all the way back.
That was a great game, too. You bring it up. I hated to interrupt there, but in college, that game was on, and my friend was an Oiler fan, and all I heard was, Oilers, 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 and then the Bills came back, and I couldn't help but rub it in his face. That was awesome. That was the best game, and I remember that game, too. But, no, you're absolutely right, and that brings up my last concern of the game, is that we had total control of that game after that kickoff. We answered with a nice long drive, and the offense did their thing. We didn't punt, did we? Maybe once?
No, we didn't punt. No, we didn't punt at all. It's the first regular season game, I believe, since I can't remember the year exactly, but it's been a very long time that we haven't had a punt in a regular season game.
It was awesome. It was awesome to see us move the chains, and we took a couple shots. And that was great to see. We weren't going long all the time like we had to. We were picking our places. And they were great calls at that time. Where my concern comes in, though, is that while we're doing this on offense, we got to stop. And like you said, we have to learn how to finish the game. It tore me up to see the Vikings at the end in the fourth quarter move the ball up and down the field and giving up big chunks of yard. That Adrian Peterson touchdown, we were stopping him, like you said, and then it's like we lost our focus, and all of a sudden, he gets a big run here and there, and we're not blocking, and we're tackling sloppy again.
Rodgers touchdown run.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And so how do you think we fix that?
That I wish I had an answer to, because it's not like they're going to a complete prevent defense. In the past when they went to the quote-unquote prevent defense, they would rush 3. They're rushing 4. I don't know if it's a lack of focus, if it's a change in scheme. I don't know for sure what the issue is. It's like, missed tackles and, receivers wanting wide open in the middle of the field. Defensive backs having to tackle receivers so they don't catch a long touchdown pass on you, like we saw Tremont Williams' other pass interference call later in the game, where he practically tackled Jennings before the ball even got there to prevent a long touchdown catch. It's like, where are the fundamentals? Where is the focus? And I think that's really what it is, just the lack of focus.
Yeah, and I know we're putting the backups in. And, they might be overly excited, but they don't seem assignment ready. And, I don't know what it is, because we're not going to always be that dominant on offense. I mean, I hope we are. Don't get me wrong.
Especially with the injuries on offense right now.
I mean, and even the announcers during the game, I remember they said they're doing this with backups. What happens when Cobb and James come back? And the answer was scary. And it will be scary when that happens. But again, too, these backups have to go in there and finish the game. And it's just, it is very frustrating to see us play such a great game. And again, maybe we're nitpicking and saying, we had the game in hand, but it's just frustrating to watch that. So
it is.
As I look at the time, Bud, we're rolling up on 14. We'll do our predictions, actually, in the next segment of Twitter Talk, because we're going to talk Bears-Packers rivalry. So I'm gonna wrap up this session, and then we'll get right into Twitter Talk. So thanks again for joining us, folks. Evan and I always appreciate talking Packers. We'll get right back at you with Twitter Talk.